What's going on, everybody? Today is an interesting day. We have some unfortunate news and we have some good news, depending on how you look at it. Nobody was hurt, but there was a bunch of disaster from destructive tornadoes ripping through parts of Nebraska, leveling homes and businesses in the suburbs of Omaha. Soon as I heard that, anyone in the Christmas business knows that we have friends in Omaha, Nebraska, and one of our greatest friends in the Christmas business. I'm sure many of you, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of you, have called one of these friends in Omaha. We have someone directly from Omaha that has firsthand accounts of what's going on with the tornado and the aftermath of it and what happened. So let's bring our friend and our brother, Erik Terkelsen.
Hey,
What's going
Ron.
on, Turk?
How's it going? Man, it's been a crazy last 24 hours here. And
It's been
I
it's
appreciate
been
you having me on
interesting
and
to
telling
hear
me.
that. Yeah, so I didn't even know there was a tornado in Nebraska, so you have to forgive my ignorance on that one. But then you know, got me up to speed today, and it
Yeah.
is devastating to say the least. So, walk me through it. Like, how did this start? So, you have I live in Houston, and you have, there's a hail possibility and a tornado possibility, whatever, but it's like 2% chance it ever happens right
Yeah.
there. But how was it yesterday, or how was it when you actually heard the news?
Well, it was really getting into Thursday night where they start talking about that we're going to have some severe weather. And typically around this time of year, in that April, May, June, July timeframe, you're going to get some opportunities for some severe weather, including tornadoes. And so we were watching the weather, and I was like, okay, tomorrow's going to be interesting. Hope it doesn't hail. I've got all the cars outside. I'm like, just hope it doesn't hail tomorrow. But as we were at work, this is probably around noon. Some of the guys, we went out to lunch yesterday and we're talking about the possibility of the severe weather and didn't really think anything of it. I mean, living in Nebraska all my life, I mean, you've heard, tornado watches, tornado warnings. When you start to hear the sirens, it's like, I don't know if you become immune to it but at points, it's just like, okay, this is something that happens often. It's kind of like snow in Nebraska.
Sure.
But this was interesting where probably about that 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock time frame, we all start kind of like thinking, okay, this is, we're starting to see that it's getting a little bit dark in certain areas. We're looking outside as most people do. We want to see what's going on. The wind started to pick up quite a bit. Some of the staff wanted to go home. They're like, I really want to take off and, make sure my pets are okay and whatnot. So half the staff left. And then Scott, myself, Caleb, Greg, Dylan, we stayed around, just a little bit talking about it, kind of watching the skies in all sorts of different directions. It looked like we were pretty safe. Nothing really overcast as far as on the Holidynamics side in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look out to the suburbs, like Elkhorn, Bennington, Blair, those areas, you could really start to see that, there's some really dark clouds out there. And we're just like, oh, wow, that doesn't look good. The sirens start going. The sirens went many times during the course of those several hours. And one of our good friends, and Greg, who's our CFO, a good long-term friend of mine and Scott's from the fraternity as well, got a call from his wife. And, we were just talking like, gosh, this could hit Blair. Scott had his cameras on his house, which he's not too far from Greg. And he was like, yeah, it looks pretty calm out there. It looks like it's getting a little bit dark. Then Greg got a call from his wife that the house had pretty much been destroyed. And
that's terrible, man.
Yeah. Horrible.
Yeah, no.
You think of you think of memories in the house, and the houses can be replaced and whatnot. But I know at that point we were just blessed that Lori, his wife, was at home and she was okay. But I think they were missing several of their pets at the time, and it's just horrible. And so Scott was able to get him out to the house, but I think everything was really closed off, and there was so much chaos. He could only get him so close. And then I talked to Greg shortly after, and he said that, yeah, it was bad out there. It was just one of the tornadoes had pretty much swept through his neighborhood, and it was bad, really bad. So our thoughts and prayers go not out only to those people that were affected in the other outskirts of like in Elkhorn, but to our good friends, the Dondelingers, because it's something you hear about. There's houses that were leveled, but I've probably had 6 or 7 of my close friends that have their houses are totally destroyed, nothing left. And this is a kind of storm we haven't seen since probably I was a little kid in 1975. So it's going on, 49 years ago, where I was just a toddler and watching this go through. But I remember like it was yesterday, because you don't forget storms like this, especially when they have that mass destruction like they did.
So as the storm's getting closer, it's no longer like we might have some inclement weather. There could be a storm, like the sirens are going off, right?
Yeah.
And then what's the process? Like you hear it, and then what's the process that's going on at this point? Like you hear the sirens, and then for a fact you see the dark clouds, and then you make a decision like, do I even go home or what do I do?
Yeah. Well, we started to hear through text and stuff that there had been some tornadoes that had hit down like in Lincoln and the Waverly area, that had caused kind of that destruction. It was heading towards us. And like I said, sometimes you just become numb to it. It didn't feel like when we were outside, there was some pretty large, fast winds coming. But it didn't feel any different than any other tornado warning that I've experienced in my life. But I think what made this different was the text that we started to get. And then we were like, okay, this is serious, even before Greg got his news. And it was really dark in Bennington. They said that there was a tornado that had possibly touched down there. And I told my wife, I'm like, you guys in the basement? They're like, no, we've already been in the basement. The pets are with us. And then you just, you're calling, you're trying to text them. The internet went down for a little bit. Calls weren't able to go through as quickly in some areas. So it makes it really rough just to, if you don't have that communication, that open communications happening, you're just wondering, is everybody okay? And then you start to drive around and you're like, wow, it's just, it looked like war zones in most of the areas. And they really, I think the police and the fire department did a good job of closing off a lot of areas pretty quickly. But man, there was just, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
It must be something like if you're not in an area, but you hear that there is something going in the area or your family members letting you know, oh my God, it's coming right for us. What a helpless feeling if you're not there.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, get to the basement. Or, you're like trying to figure out the right thing to say. But at the end of the day, as a man who's supposed to be the protector, you're helpless because you're not there.
Right.
And then I'm sure the cell phone service, everyone's on a cell phone and it probably calls are hard to get through and things, during emergencies. But here's a little clip from the news from Bennington where you're talking about, because I know Greg's house or what was left of the rubble was actually on the news last night. Here it is right here.
Bennington Lake destroyed. This home on your right, the roof gone, completely gone. This house is destroyed. The front wall, this is the backyard, also gone. You can see the American flag billowing in this rain and wind. And then if we look to your left, look at this home. The roof also in shambles. The windows punched in, the glass punched in. Homeowners heard the glass. That's what people will tell us. And then if we look again to our left, the house with the caution tape, the homeowners there gave us a tour of the inside and showed us the damage. Go ahead and take a look. Craig and Sandy McGill lived at Bennington Lake for almost 20 years. Now, this is what's left of their home. They took some of the worst damage in this lake community, but we've seen dozens of homes.
Yeah, so in that clip, Ron, that was Bennington. That's the area that I live in. And then Greg and Scott, they're probably about 7-8 miles away from me. And you wouldn't even, like, in those areas, you don't even recognize it. It's just rubble. Some of those houses in that Bennington Lakes area or the Newport Landing area, I think were spared. But as you're seeing, like here with this clip you have, you can't even recognize whose house that was in some areas. And they said that some of these, I believe that what I heard was one of the tornadoes that had touched down was almost a couple miles wide. And you can see it. It actually came through one of the neighborhoods in Elkhorn and it leveled it. Like just rubble, like you see there. It's just insane.
Wow. It's and this is the commercial building that went down that they were speaking about. Man, it's just unbelievable. Like yesterday, I mean, when you think about the lifetime or generations it takes, to build a house or to build a business or to build a building, even though it's all replaceable, it
Yeah.
took you sometimes generations or your whole entire life to get to that moment where you have these things,
Yeah.
to wake up tomorrow and it's gone. Yeah, oh man, it's hard to even fathom that.
Well,
Something and stuff you take for granted too.
in the memories that you've made there, so the birthday parties, the Thanksgivings, the Christmases, things like that, which again, what's amazing, and you and I talked about this earlier, was as bad as this storm was and as many tornadoes that had touched down, I think in between Waverly, Lincoln, Bennington, Papillion, all those areas, Elkhorn, I believe there was like a culmination of like 40 tornadoes during the course of the day. Usually when you hear about a tornado ripping through, it's like one or two actually touch down, but this looked like there was just multiple, and I just never have seen anything like it. And when you look at the homes, although they are replaceable, you think about those things, the contents of the home, right? So it's not just in your specific area. There's things that get scattered that can go miles away. Some of your personal belongings and whatnot, which make it very difficult, because then you're like, what did I do with grandma's ring, or where's this or that? And it really puts I think a toll on people. And for those that are going through it right now, especially, Greg and his family, it's horrible. It just breaks your heart. And you just think about, gosh, what would I do in that situation? We were blessed that, in our area, that's not too far from some of these areas that got hit. I mean, we're really, really close. We were spared, and just blessed that, we didn't have the same thing happen, because that's just too much to go through, I think, for anybody.
Well, all of you guys are really close. I mean,
Yeah.
you, Scott, and pretty much, everyone that works at Holidynamics obviously lives close to, Omaha, but, for Greg's loss, but, Scott was telling me today, he's like, man, I'm 1.1 miles away from his, as the bird flies, 1.1 miles away. I mean, I cannot believe it was that close, but, Greg, some reason it was there, and it missed me that by that much, just that thought. I mean, it kind of brings you into a spiritual, like trying to find the reason that this happened, or is this a sign, or is this something I should, take another look at my priorities in life, or how's that affected you personally?
Well, and you think about it too. So like in Bennington was out of school, so the kids were out yesterday. Blair was in session, so was Elkhorn. So what makes it even more difficult, I think, is when you start to think, okay, well, my kids are in school and hopefully they're safe. Hopefully, they've taken all the right precautions and everybody's, safe, and out of harm's way. But you do think about that, what if the kids are at home, or what if, the kids don't take the warning? Because a lot of people, they don't take that tornado warning always seriously. And it's like, go to the basement, seek immediate shelter. And not always do people, I think, heed that warning, and they just stay doing what they're doing. And I think how quickly this storm came in was, again, I mean, I can't say no, something I've never seen before. And I think you don't really understand the magnitude of it necessarily just being here. For me, again, my house wasn't affected by it, but the amount of texts and calls that I got throughout the United States today, just, making sure that we were okay, and that our company was okay, was just really awesome. I mean, we've got some of the best clientele in the world, including you and Laura, Ron, just, people checking up on everybody and making sure everybody's okay. And what I love about Nebraska and living here is how everybody comes together so quickly to try to support one another, whether that be through prayer or through, contributions of donations and things like that. It's just, it's always been a community, whether being, inside Omaha proper or the surrounding areas, that people come together and try to support one another, which is awesome.
Yeah. You told me a story about, there was a military veteran, and his house obviously was dilapidated from the storm system or the tornado, but then they found a way to put the American flag back up, and everything. It was kind of like, not to compare the two, but kind of like
Yeah.
a post 9/11 where
100%.
very patriotic at this point. Like, hey, yesterday I was thinking I'm voting this way or voting that way, or here's the differences between me and my neighbor. And today we're back to all being Americans. And it's terrible that tragedy brings some of those things. But, seeing the patriotic, like this video right here, seeing the American flag, flying, it definitely does kind of ground you to the important things in life.
And you saw that in several circumstances. I saw that on several houses today, kind of that similar look. But yeah, he had done a couple tours and said he had never, even being over there, heard anything quite like that. So they talk about, sounds like a train coming, a locomotive. And he's like, yeah, it was just super, super loud, but it was over in like a matter of seconds, which it just shows you the power of those twisters, sometimes how quickly they can come in and out, and just, the damage that they're able to do. But his whole point was, things are replaceable. His daughter was at school at the time. School was in session. She was safe there. And when he came out, he was just like, man, I'm just happy to be alive. You start to think about those things where your blessings are, right? I can replace that. I've got insurance. I'm not too worried about that, but is everybody okay? And I think by, you're exactly right. Having that flag up kind of shows, hey, I'm still blessed. I'm still in a land of the free. And, looking at those things, I think sometimes, people, as we talk, people are glasses half full or half empty.
Yeah.
And, he was obviously going the other direction with it being half full and counting his blessings. So it was good to see stories like that. But there was hundreds of them last night when I was watching the news about just, things that had happened. I know Lori and Greg had several of their pets went missing, and they were able to get some of those pets back today, which is always great, especially for the kids. I mean, that's never easy on the kids. I think, as adults, we look at it one way, where our children look at it another way.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank God my family's alive, and then
yeah.
pets come second, but then the kids are like, my pet.
Yeah. Which is, it's understandable. I mean, they're probably the ones that picked out the little doggo or the kitty or whatever.
Well, they're part of the family, right?
Yeah. The little fur babies and whatnot. So just seeing that, and I think you saw a lot yesterday and watching the news last night, just how emotional even the newscasters and people that had also, a lot of their friends had been affected by the storm and been displaced and whatnot. It's just, like the records there, that's just crazy to me.
The thing that's remarkable, if you're looking through this, I mean, it looks like a war zone, but looking through this, not one person was hurt or injured severely. Like not one person died, I guess would be more accurate. Not one casualty out of all of this damage and all of this wreckage. That's hard to believe.
Yeah. And I hope to God that, as they continue to go through the rubble and whatnot, because it's only of what they can report, right? As of now, we've reported no fatalities and whatnot, but think about all the people that live alone, right? That maybe their children have passed and the adults, which I've seen it many times, 80 years, 90 years living by themselves. There was an interesting story today about a gentleman that had been kind of bed-stricken, and he couldn't make it downstairs, and the sirens were blaring, and his wife and child, which was an older son or whatever, actually covered him up to make sure that, he was safe, but they risked their own lives as well. And they lost the roof. I mean, it's surprising that the tornado didn't take all of them, right? But they lived, and all that was showing on the clip was this cross that was still up on the wall. So it's stories like that, that you look at, you're like, man, that's just crazy. As bad as that storm was, and as bad as you see that destruction, to know that at least right now, as we're looking through the information that's been, disseminated through the news channels and whatnot, is that no fatalities. That's a miracle. I mean,
it's very hard to believe.
Yeah, if you looked at that and said, how many people do you think would have, survived that? I would be like, I don't think anybody survived that. But, here in Nebraska, we're also pretty lucky, different than like in Texas, because we actually have basements. You can go to really simple, to just go down to the basement.
Well, you also have experience with inclement
Yeah.
weather. Yeah, here it's more of like hey, it's going to flood. You're like, oh, flood.
Right.
But
still,
in Omaha, it's like, hey, there's going to be a blizzard with 5 foot of snow. You're like, oh, again?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the tornadoes, I'm sure that most of the kids in school, you have drills or something. I don't know that you do that as much here in Texas, but that has to be something that people are aware of. In the event that you hear this, I mean, this is what you do, and this is the protocols. And I guess you have experience growing up, or tell me, what is it like?
Yeah, no, through class, through, kindergarten on up, you go through the drills, fire drills, tornado drills. Where do you go in case of a tornado? Usually have little monitors,
shelters,
that are signed in each of the in the classes. So we do go through those drills to make sure that people are prepared, especially at a very young age. But I think it's when you've lived here long enough, or you've been on this earth for long enough, that I think you are a little desensitized to that warning that comes on. You hear a siren, it's like, Like I called my son, I'm like, you better take cover. He's like, I'm fine. I'm like, no, find out where it is in your apartment that you guys need to go during the tornado and get there, because this thing's no joke. And it wasn't. And
just so you know, Cody has moved out of the house and is no longer under the protection of Dad.
Nope.
And it's a very sad situation, but we're helicoptering from a distance here.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He had his new car with some hailstorm, right? He got some hail in his new car.
He experienced a little hail, which is unfortunate because he just got the car here about 3 weeks ago
on a brand new car. Already got a hailstorm. He made the first payment.
But what was really mature for him, he just got it licensed yesterday. What was really mature, I think, on his part is, it's out of my control. That's what he texted me back. I'm like, man, I'm sorry that happened to you. That really sucks. And he's like, out of my control. What do you do? That's why you have insurance. So at 20 years old, really took a more of a, I'd probably been crying about it. Like, oh my God, my new car. Are you serious? But the fact that he was okay,
today, I would do that today.
Yeah. The fact that he was okay, his girlfriend was okay.
Because you bought the car, right?
No, that's all him. Yeah,
that's all him. With the manager job at the T-Mobile?
Yeah, he's moving up in the ranks, and he's right now working on getting a management spot, and just turning into a man, and works hard and understands that by working hard, you can, the fruits of that labor will be there, and he's experiencing it right now. So,
proud father moment right here.
Yeah. Show up to work on time, be a good team player, listen, hang around smart people, get promoted. That's really right.
Show up on time, don't mess with people's money, have a great attitude. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, Dad taught him that. Speaking of which, it's like Saturday, and you're at the Holidynamics office on a Saturday night.
Yeah,
Laura would kill me, but then again, I'm at the office too, but it's in the other room.
That's okay. But no, I just was looking today. There's a lot of things we got to get done before next week, and some different things with the products. We're anticipating some new samples and things coming in here shortly, and obviously, you and I are trying to put something together for Houston area. So we'll be down there. Here.
You still haven't gotten permission.
I have not, but I will. I promise. And we'll get some dates out there, and everybody will be super excited about it, because we will be bringing lots of samples and lots of knowledge, and lots of good things are going to be happening down in Houston. So we're excited about that. So a lot of this coming in doing that prep stuff, and it's a lot easier when nobody's in the office. Tend to get being more done just because you're not having to meet as much with other people, but. I like this. We've always talked around. It's just like you and Laura. We talk about it. How if you can find something you love to do, and you don't really think about having a work-life balance. It's really just it's life. It becomes part of your life, and it's what keeps food on the table, and it keeps your clothes on your children and your family, and so. We enjoy it. I look at it as an opportunity. Come in here, do the podcast with you. So I appreciate doing this today.
Yeah.
I wish it could have been more, cheery theme.
Well, no, there's a lot of people who are very concerned about what's going on and making sure all of our friends and family are safe. And I'm sure you've received hundreds. So this is, something that we can share on all the platforms. I kind of brought it up last minute. So, we'll get it in front of some people, obviously on Monday and things like that, but to make sure everyone's okay. And, a lot of people are wondering, it's like, okay, so I've seen enough clips of all this damage and destruction. And at some point you can can you just please turn that off?
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir, can you please get your news crew and get out of my neighborhood? Or, excuse me, I do appreciate that you're here to help, but I've already said no to the last 85 people. Please get the hell out of here. But where do you go from here? Because your house is messed up. I mean, life doesn't stop. The bills don't stop, and your job doesn't stop, or your career or whatever doesn't stop. So nothing stops except for you no longer have this or that or loved ones and whatever. So where do you go from here? I heard there was a concert coming in town, right?
Yeah. So there's and I don't know if this is unique of Nebraska, but it's what I know, right? It's where I live. It's where I've lived all my life. And so I've always felt like when things happen here in Omaha, whether that was the tornado of 75 or different things that happen, everybody usually bands together pretty well to support each and everyone. But it wasn't just so with Nebraska, but also Iowa was affected. And one of the local grocers, who I believe is headquartered out of Iowa, Hy-Vee, they've already brought like 7 trailer truckloads full of just supplies to try to help people. There's restaurants that are giving out free food. There's churches that are opening their doors for people, for shelter. There's apartment complexes that are offering months free. I mean, there's just a lot of things that are going on right now. And although life, it does go on and you have to have it go on, there's people that now, I don't have a house or foundation there, but I'm still having to make that house payment, right? So we've got coming up Monday, Zach Bryan is going to be in town. Hopefully I'm trying to get my wife and daughter tickets to that. I've been kind of late to the show, if you will, to get them their tickets. But
yeah, but then you should just name drop and they'll let you in, right?
So, right. So I believe I just got a text from my wife that she heard that Zach Bryan actually came in early. So he's got a concert that was happening on Monday that sold out. So they extended that into Tuesday. So he's got 2 shows. And he came in early to Nebraska. He's actually, I believe, in Elkhorn today, just trying to help out wherever he can. And I think anytime a celebrity can do that and really, bring attention to the issue that you're having is huge. So, I mean, you look at that when those things happen now, it's like real easy to become a fan of somebody like that. So kudos to Zach Bryan for doing that, because not everybody's like that. But it's one of those things that I think, here we're in the heartland. This is the heartbeat of the USA here in Nebraska. And I think when people come here and they feel it, they're like, it's different when you come to Nebraska. Some people
hits different, like you say, right? It hits different.
Yeah. You go to Nebraska, people are nice. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, like I went to the restaurant. The guy's like, thank you. And I'm like, what? Doesn't that happen everywhere?
Yeah. In Texas, it does. It's like that.
Yeah. Right.
But not in New York, though. New York is different. Yeah.
But I did see today lots and lots of just outpouring of people wanting to help. I mean, I've called and texted everybody I can that I know was affected to just, whatever. If you need rides, if you need help with your children, if, whatever we can do as a community to make it easier for one another. Sometimes it's just reaching out. I got several today that called me and just like, hey, I just want to make sure you're okay. And I'm like, man, that means a lot. I mean, you understand that it's not just a client, it's a friend. It's somebody, you're working together to achieve something. And over time, you become very close friends. And then, it's like when Florida has the hurricanes, I'm constantly, just checking on people. Are you okay? Was that in your area? No, that was about 4 hours away. We were good. Okay, well, I wasn't sure, but, I think reaching out to somebody just let you know that they care is huge. I told people today, I'm like, it means a lot. It means a lot. Because although I wasn't immediately affected, Ron, my house wasn't affected. My friends were, and that's hard.
And your community.
Yeah. And you don't want anybody to suffer. I've always said, if any of my friends, none of my friends should ever be at a point where they're ever homeless, right? Because there should always be a spot with your friends that you can take them in or help them out or do something for them. And just living in this community, I think is the way my parents raised me, where, you got to help out and you got to figure out ways to help your fellow brother. And and do
Your
whatever you
brethren.
can. Yeah.
Now, I did hear something about, I mean, I know it was just one day away, or it was just yesterday or whatever, but I did hear that already they're not accepting any more donations. They're completely
Yeah.
full and not to donate anything or,
Yeah.
right?
So certain areas,
In one day.
yeah. So certain areas, there was one in the Bennington area that, they were taking blankets and, all sorts of things, paper towels and totes. We talk about, especially in the holiday lighting community, how, people love the totes, right? Then, hey, Home Depot's having a sale on totes for $7.88. Go get as many as you can. They're not accepting any more donations right now, just because I think it's overwhelming, because everybody has that outpouring. I mean, when you think about the amount of homes that were affected, probably 300-400 homes. But the amount of people, when you're talking about 1 million people surrounding, and probably even from out of state, people are sending stuff and whatnot, because it's not, I don't think, even too, Ron, when we looked at 9/11, it wasn't just people in your immediate community. When I look at it and I say, God, in 9/11, I felt really patriotic. I felt like the whole country had come together. There was donations going from everywhere up to New York. I mean, every one of the states were sending stuff up there. I think it becomes difficult sometimes, because when you want to try to help, whether your friend lost their house and you're like, hey, what can I do to help you? It's a lot, and it's overwhelming to them, because they're trying to just sift through the rubble and, try to find the things that they're looking for, and other people are moving things. And it's like, okay, whoa, hold on. I'm just, everybody wants to help, but sometimes it's just like, wow, just like the donations that come in, whether it be the totes, the hand sanitizer, those things. It's like, okay, where are we going to put all this stuff right now? We need to slow down and kind of get a thing going. So one of the Bennington had actually put together kind of a committee to kind of tackle this, and have some sign-up forms for volunteers, so that they can actually go and manage this. Because without that, that's just pure chaos. People, hey, can I get you water? No, I'm good. Hey, can I get you water? No, I'm good. So it's, everybody's heart is in the right place, but sometimes I believe I haven't had this happen as you're seeing, like in these houses, but my God, I would just assume that would just be way overwhelming right now. I mean,
well, a lot of the houses I've seen were like brand new neighborhoods. Like it couldn't have been less than 5 years old, like brand new houses, and the neighborhood is already ripped. Like you just moved into the damn thing, and it's like, wow.
There was people like Dylan. Dylan just moved into Elkhorn, so I had to call him, make sure he was okay when he got in. And he just moved into a new house. And I mean, just think about that. You haven't even made really the first payment on the house. You've moved in, and then the chance of that being destroyed. But there's people that had just moved in yesterday that had just, I mean, imagine that, just moving in the first day, and then your house gets destroyed.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, if you're ever looking for signs and wonders, you're like, I guess it was not meant to be, or, something. I mean, you're trying to justify it besides just things happen. It's like, is this a sign, or are you trying to tell me something? Why did this happen to me?
Too, and you've heard it along your life, as God doesn't give you more than you can handle. I think that's also a sign of, like, when that does happen, it's like, okay, let's reset and pause here a second. What just happened here? What, does that make us stronger? Sometimes that makes you stronger as a family, sometimes as a neighborhood or a community. So sometimes, when things are shifted maybe the wrong way, God has a very interesting way of wrapping that around to get people back on, a little more centered, I think.
Why am I spending so much time working? Let me prioritize what's important. And you're like, I was good. Okay, anyway, I'm going back to work. Right?
Yeah.
Dirk?
No, you're 100% right.
What's going on with your protege? So you now have a new sidekick. He's become like a shadow, if you will. He's following you around all over the country now. Your protege? What's going on with your protege?
So we brought, so one of our employees, Yusuf, we actually brought up, he was in the warehouse working with Caleb. In the next progression, he wanted to get into sales and kind of
promotion from within.
Yeah, exactly. And so looking at that, so he's an account manager now. So he's going to be helping out with, the follow-up, making sure that the orders go out in a timely manner, making sure that we're dotting the I's, crossing the T's. So really helping in that regard, and continuing to learning more of the products, learning more of, when we do the certification, similar to what we'll be doing down in Houston with the RGB WW and also the Glitzer. really helping to organize that, because, you know, as you know, and you and Laura go through it, there's a lot, especially when you're trying to roll out new and exciting products. You want people that are going to be able to help you with that. And he brings a lot of positivity to the group, and really complements what we've got going on here at Holidynamics. So yeah, we're excited.
You speak so highly of him. I talked to him when, I would say he was green.
Yeah.
As a professional salesman and everything. But I did have a chance to speak to the young man. He seems like a very nice kid, and you got him under your wing, so he couldn't have a better mentor.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see, like, you know, what he actually, you know, he's a young kid too, so he has his whole life ahead of him, and he has good mentors at a young age. So it'll be interesting to see what he actually can accomplish in the next couple of years, or immediately it'd be great, you know, but you know, the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's funny, Ron, when you and I talk about that, we're talking about, you know, he's really young, and he's about 24 years old. And I think as you and I look back to where we were when we were 24, I mean, I was running a call center at 24. So, but as I'm now into my 50s, I look at him like, oh man, this guy, he's really young. But it's like, okay, wait, hold on a second. What was I doing during that time? Because as starting out at a very young age, just like Scott, and I think most of the people that work here at Holidynamics, I started out working at 9 years old, working for my dad at the service station, and I was changing oil at 9 years old. So when we look at young, I think of, oh man, that kid's, he's 8. That's young. That's young to be starting and doing something at a company. But yeah, I think it's going to be good for our company as well. And as we look to expand and really help our distributors and our wholesalers. And, you know, there's just so much opportunity out there today, especially with all the new and exciting products that we have going out, and also the different type of training that we can offer and certifications that you'll be offering down at your place as well.
Sure.
So
yeah,
lots of fun. So for those that are listening tonight, we're going to have some boots on the ground here in Houston not too long from now. The July
something.
Yeah. July something right now. It is definitely going to be a Christmas in July.
More than likely, it's going to be Christmas in July. Just don't know when in July, but there's definitely going to be something in July. And, you know, I will make a comment about this young, you know, because when you're Erik Terkelsen or you're Ron Roby, you got some gray hairs in your beard. If someone brings up an experience, you can identify with it. You can look at this person and say, he's been around the block. He knows what he's talking about. He's a seasoned veteran. But when you're young, I'll say, in your 20s, people don't look at you like that. You have to work extra hard to say, no, I'm not like some of these 20-year-old kids are still sitting in your mom's basement smoking weed and playing video games. I got my shit together. I'm really focused on work. And I, you know, whatever stereotype that you may have for these younger generation, I promise you it's not me. I'm a hard worker and I'm goal-oriented. I'm here to kick ass and take names. You know, that's like, but you have to work harder to prove that that's who you are at 24. Even though at 24, you're not young, but people don't look at you and give you the benefit of the doubt as much as they do when you're about our age.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think a lot of what's happened too in our society is I hear a lot of, oh my gosh, what's happening to the younger generation? Nobody wants to work.
Yeah.
I think to a certain degree,
or show up on time, and the list goes on and on.
I think to a certain degree, but then I look at like my son, who really, you know, he gives me hope, right? But then I see some of his friends that are graduating college within 3 years and some of the things they're doing. And I'm like, you know, maybe it's just that I'm thinking that, because I look back when Scott and I and Greg, we were working at very young ages, you know, all probably 16, at least having that real first job, not just working for dad, but really starting to work. Yeah. But I had plenty of friends that did exactly like you said, smoking weed, doing whatever, didn't have a job from, you know, until they got out of college.
It didn't have to, because they live at home with mom until they're like, you know, almost 30.
Right. And not to say, you know, that's wrong. You know, I'm not saying that, but there was plenty of my friends that did not work, that liked to play video games back then. The game of choice was probably Atari 2600 or the Sega when Sega first came out, or Nintendo.
Genesis.
And I had plenty of friends that the kids would just be, I'm going home, I'm going to play Nintendo. And I'm like, man, I got to go do some telemarketing. I got to go, you know, I'm working from 5:30 to 10:30, and I'm making, you know, back then $6-7 an hour, which was pretty good.
Oh yeah, dude. I think the minimum wage was what, $4.25?
Yeah, right. I maybe not even that. But So I don't know. I look at that and I'm like, I think that there's a lot of good, talented kids out there. I think you just got. Scott always says it too. It's the way that school is set up, right? Whether it be high school or college, they never really get you geared to what you want to do in life, right? You got to go through, and you're a robot, and you're going to take English, you're going to take, one science, you're going to take whatever, and it's all mapped up for every single person. But not everybody's built the same way. I think college is good for some people. I think for others, not. I think trade schools are good for some people and others not. So it's really just whatever your path is and what you can, sink your teeth into and be passionate about and bring excitement to every day. That's where you're going to win, because I don't know too many people, when you really look at it in the grand scheme of things, I don't know many people that are super, super passionate about something and don't find some success in whatever that passion is.
Sure.
Just that you haven't seen it. If these guys are, I'm passionate about going working out, I'm really hitting it hard. Those guys are in pretty good shape, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you're intentional, we talk about that word quite a bit. I push it here at Holidynamics as well. If you can be intentional and go out and do the things that you want to do and make sure you're maximizing your days, I think you're going to be successful. So I think it's like you said, having the right mentors, knowing that one of the quotes I picked up the other day it was one of those like inserts off a credit card or whatever. It said,
fortune cookie.
Yeah, exactly. It was basically making mistakes is proof that you're trying.
Sure.
Right. And I'm like, that's true. So when, you can't get so mad at people when they're making a mistake, at least they're doing something. They're trying something. Of course, if they keep making the mistake over and over again, that's a problem. But
that's another thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that they're trying to do something.
A lot of they do that with church. You're like, well, I'm better than you because I don't do this and I don't do this and I don't do this and I don't do that and I don't do this. You're like, well, I don't know if you're trying to make it across the finish line by not doing anything. I mean, you have to do something, and mistakes are proof you're doing something. But I like the quote by David Goggins. He said, you first have to believe in your mind that it's possible, and then and only then will your mind start to tactically break down how to do it.
Yeah.
But you have to believe in your mind that it's possible first.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's correct. I think the other ones that I see a lot of, as you and I have been talking, we watch a lot of motivational speakers like on Reels.
Back in the day, it was on the A side and B side of the cassette tape.
Right, exactly.
Zig Ziglar.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of stuff. Yeah.
Or the beta or video tape.
Yeah, exactly.
But you look at some of
A-track.
that, it's like the guy that did the 4-minute mile. Nobody ever thought that you could run a 4-minute mile until the guy did, because he believed he could do it. He did. And then lots of people were starting to hit that 4-minute mile.
Sure.
So, and there was one I saw the other day on a quote of a motivational speaker. He was talking about money. And he's like, what would make you happy, Ron, if you were, each year, if you were making X, what would that look like? And you may be, 500,000. 500,000 would be great. He's like, well, why is that your number? Why isn't $1 million your number? To a point where you said he's got to think that it's possible. But if you think about all the opportunity that's out there today and you see what some of these people are bringing in, I mean, you look at The Rock. The Rock, I think that I was seeing the other day, he's almost
Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, almost at $1 billion. I'm like, the guy's hustling. Ryan Seacrest, another guy. He's not just doing American Idol. He's finding other avenues. I think he's going to do what's the new show he's doing? Pat Sajak's show, the Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, he's going to be taking over that. So, I think if you can find things that you enjoy, you're passionate about, I think that's really where you can make some exciting things happen.
And you don't have the same excuses as you did before, where there's an American Idol audition and I missed it. Yeah. I mean, now with social media and YouTube. You don't need the Encyclopedia Britannica. Yes. You don't need to go to the library. I mean, everything's in the access of your fingertips. Every opportunity is awarded to anybody and everybody. And there is no, only this guy can be famous because he's my friend. There is no nepotism in whether it's social media famous or whatever. Everyone has every kind of opportunity. But one of the key ingredients is working your ass off. You can't skip that step.
Yeah,
there is no quick way to get there. You grind your way there, but the opportunity is there, and it's there in such a big way that wasn't there for us but well, technically it's there for us right now. But the younger generation, I don't know if they're blessed or not blessed to have that, but they're definitely not sheltered where you just have the one bully. Now you have millions of bullies and things like that. But it's interesting, those generations, but it's glad to see that you got a few of them hand selected. And you didn't said this kid is actually going to do something. So we're looking forward to seeing some good things and some good reports. And I'm looking forward to running them through the roost.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think you were talking about too earlier. It's like, I don't know of anybody that has been successful or has been able to remain successful by taking shortcuts, right? There's a lot, as you see in the holiday lighting industry, as far as people, going out and getting trained and whatnot. And they're like, hey, I need to get to $200,000. I need to get to $500,000. That's fine. But there's steps that you need to take. There's learnings, mistakes that you have to make along the way to get to that point where you can say, oh my God, we're doing 1,000 properties a year, whatever that is. Maybe it's a financial number, not a number of actual installs you're doing. But you got to look at that. There's some prerequisites, I think, that have to happen. Like, I've done this and I've added on this, and you have to look and you have to be patient. It's like the slow nickel, right? It's like investing. Man, I want to invest a lot, so I'm going to go put a ton of money into penny stocks, and then you lose it all. And then you're like, what the hell? Because it's
high risk, high reward.
Right.
You're like,
you
might as well just bet on black and go to the casino. Believe me, I've done it myself, and sometimes it works and a lot of times it don't. But that's gambling.
Exactly. Yeah. But even lessons I've learned, or life lessons, it's taken me to get into my 50s now to have learned that stuff along the way, that I can also teach people, that I can teach my son and my daughter different things, because I've actually lived it. And I'm not like, oh yeah, you should do this. And it's like, well, what experience do you have? Well, I don't. But being around as long as you and I have, you can start to give your children that information where, they're going to choose to either go with it or not. They're going to, it's their life. They're going to live it the way they want. But as parents and as mentors, all we can do is give them that information, and hopefully they take some of it. And I believe that, my children, and just watching and the decision making that they're doing, I believe they've taken a lot of that information that my wife and I have shared with them and taught them along the way.
How could they not?
And that's what's really cool. Even how we respond to things, how we look at things. I think even at their when I look at how they react, like even to the storm, and the tragedy of this, and how they're worried about their friends and they're checking in and doing the similar things. That's stuff that you have to, hopefully they've seen you do, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's the right thing to do. We were out this morning with my daughter and her boyfriend and my wife, and
boyfriend.
Boyfriend. Yeah, I'm dealing with that.
Your daughter's boyfriend.
Yeah. So
whoa. What was the boyfriend talk like? Well, what's the boyfriend say? The shotgun? Cleaning the shotgun? No.
I thought going into it I was going to be like that, but then he came to the door. He's just a nice kid. His family is actually Scandinavian as well, so that's obviously, I was like, oh boy.
So your fellow Viking?
He's just like me.
We're all going to Valhalla.
Yeah. But he's very complimentary of my daughter. He supports her. They support each other. They go to each of their sporting events to watch one another. And
no threats.
This morning, I was just, I was really proud of him. I didn't say anything to him. There was an older couple that was coming through the door. We were off to the side, and he made it a point to go open the door for them, both of the doors. And I'm just like, man. And they're like, oh, thank you.
Showing off for you?
You're welcome. No, it's just how he is. Naven's like, God, he will hold the door for me. I mean, he will do. I mean, just his parents brought him up the right way.
Sure.
And it makes me, those are the moments that make me proud, is just not my daughter doing it, but her boyfriend, the person that she's decided, that's going to be my boyfriend.
Well, he's better, right?
Yeah. But I mean, you know how that goes. Sometimes you can be like, you've seen it. You've seen it in many movies where the girl goes after the jerk, the guy that's just, the fighter and all that. And this kid, he's totally different from that. So he's Mother Terkelsen and Father Terkelsen approved.
Good.
So yeah, it's just been good. It's been good to see her happy. Similar to my son and his girlfriend. She's a sweetheart as well. So been blessed in that area. So I tend to get a little, I think as I've gotten older, a little more emotional to things. especially like with my
Well, you're
son.
getting
I was
older.
telling you,
That's
with
what
my
older people
son.
do. They get
Oh
emotional.
yeah, well, like with my son moving out. My
Yeah,
son's
yeah,
moving
that
out.
was
He's a
tough,
man.
yeah.
I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
don't move
But I
out.
thought you would live
No,
here
no, yeah.
forever.
Yeah, and it's
I'm
just so
moving
happened he
in with
moved.
you now.
Yeah, just so happened he moved out the day before my birthday, which was fine. I gave him
What?
shit for it, yeah, but he's like, Dad, it was just the timing, and I was just giving him a hard time.
The
But
day before your birthday, he moved
yeah,
out. He
but we
didn't care
still
about your
spent.
feelings.
Yeah, no, we still spent the birthday together. I was hurt for about a second. Then I was like, no, I got to be happy for him and his girlfriend, what they're doing. So
And he
he's going
actually
to school
told
full
you.
time, working full time, both of them. So, I mean, I was like, yeah, go live your life.
Eric,
But
tell me, he told you, Dad, don't come visit, at least
no,
for a month or
no,
two.
he
don't.
had me over the other night and we watched the Lakers lose again to
Oh,
the
you did?
Nuggets. Yeah, he had me over and we had some pizza and yeah, it was great.
What was it like? Where he's like, Dad, these are my rules now. You're in my house, and this is what you're going to do. And take that dish over here. Anything like that?
Nah, he's
No.
really appreciative of everything. So he's always like, thanks, Dad, and whatever we did. Both of our kids are like that. They're really appreciative and thankful, for the blessings that they've had. And
That's awesome, man.
yeah, it is funny though seeing him move, and I mean just them having their own apartment now. This is their space, having his own car. That's his car. And then you're just like, it's sad in the fact that chapter, he's no longer a little kid anymore.
Sure.
But that chapter is closed. Now we have new chapters to look forward to. So sometimes, even with business, you look at, people talk about look at what's in front of you, not in the rear view mirror.
Rear view, yeah.
Right. And don't focus on that because that's gone. You can have good memories of that stuff, but we're going to focus on, what's going to happen now in the future and all the good things that both of the kids are going to accomplish. And then different things, how we get used to that. My wife and I and my daughter, she's got a little more space at the home now, but I told my son, hey, the room's always open for you guys. It's not like it's going anywhere, And
Yeah.
It was funny. He said the other day, he's like, hey, when you go over to your house, and I'm like, it's still our house, but you don't have to say my house and your apartment or whatever. But yeah.
Well, that's good, man. I know that I'm sure your daughter having your blessing for the boyfriend means everything because, you teach him well. And when she says, this is the guy that I like and you approve, I'm sure that's, it's always nice, I'm sure, to get approval from Mom and Dad Turk.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad Turk.
One of the things was fun is we got, she just went to prom last week. So I was traveling. I made it back in time to go get pictures and whatnot. And that was a really fun thing to be.
You got pictures?
Yeah. And see them all.
Did you chaperone them to prom?
No.
That's like,
she'd be like, no, that's cringe. Or she's like,
cringe.
You're good, Dad. I'm good.
Yeah. So is there no being seen in public? Is that the age we're at now, or there's not a problem? You were just hanging out with her today, right?
Oh yeah, no, we've gone to dinner with all of us, with Cody and his girlfriend, and then Ava and her boyfriend. We've all gone to dinners and stuff like that, and they've been able to hang out together. And today we went out to breakfast, and it was fun. It's good.
You got like a lot of parents. They as soon as they get to a certain age, they don't want to be anywhere around you. Like, drop me off down the street. I ain't trying to be seen with you, whatsoever. But you don't have that. I mean, you raised some good kids, Ava, Cody.
And I think, Ava and Cody have been, we've always been around them. So coaching Cody's, football, basketball, baseball team, stuff like that. Going to all their events anytime I can. And, as
they're all listening right now. Like, check out what Dad's saying. You ain't gonna believe this.
But even with a lot of travel and even the demands of the season, as you know, I mean, it gets difficult to see your kids during that. I've always made it a point to try to go to their different things that they're doing, whether that be a choir concert for my daughter or a basketball game for my son, or watching my daughter at the dance team. Always made it a point to do that and be a part of their lives. And I also listen to a lot of their music with them and watch a lot of shows that they watch. So just like you, it's like people are like, how do you know all that stuff? And I'm like, I'm just involved. I'm involved in my kids' lives, so I know who some of these younger artists are. And I know some of the lyrics, and it's just funny where my daughter would look, she's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, well, because I learned it from you or, my son.
Hello, I got 2 ears on me.
Yeah. So I really like, and my wife's the same. We like to be involved, as much as we can without strangling them, where they're like, okay, Dad, that's enough. I know when to not embarrass. There's times where I will do a little things that will be a little bit embarrassing, I think, to both of them. But it's
No,
just
I've witnessed
all
some of
good
those
fun.
things firsthand, like
Yeah.
being at a restaurant and then singing at the top of your lungs, and
Yeah.
the whole entire restaurant's like, "What the heck?" You're like, "No, come on, guys, let's ready." Like going with the chorus is like, like there's no shame in your game. You
Right.
just throw it out there, no problem.
Yeah, and
No,
it's fun.
impromptu, no big deal. Yeah. Laura's very admirable about those qualities, and I have friends, and but I don't have enough friends that are like you and Scott and all the guys really at Holidynamics, but just the family type of, it's a family first type of thing, and we're all about family and not really drinking. Like neither one of y'all drink or cut up or party in that fashion, but you have such a great time, and it's all about family. You need more people in your life like that. If you don't have enough, if you have some people, you need more, because people like that, that you grow through life with, that you can learn a lot. And so Laura's always like, you need more friends like Turk. And if I'm being honest, like, you need to act more like Terkelsen. Maybe she's saying that, but but a good role model even for friends and stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I think the same of you guys as well. And then seeing different parenting styles, I love that. I love how you get your kids involved, and you've gotten them involved early, and just similar to what my dad did with me. Sure. I mean, I haven't had, for you to have your business on site where your home is, and your kids are getting to see that daily, and they're seeing that grind that you're putting in is different, because my kids aren't, I'm away at the office. I'm not, doing it work from home, so they don't necessarily get to see that. They get to see Lori do that because she's got a work from home position. But that's nice that you're able to do that and start to get them acclimated to the business and what that means. And that's just huge. I mean, that's exactly what I got from my dad. And
I wish I could shelter some of it from them. Yeah. I want them to be a kid and have fun and do kid stuff, and the stuff that they're doing. Levi's out there with, some of the workers that work for us. Hey, Javier, come over here. We're going to do inventory. And hey, Billy, drop your materials off. I'll tell you what you need for the next job. I'm like, Levi, dude, you're like 6. Get out of here. But he's that's how Levi is. And he's like, I just want you to be a kid, but he's like, he wants to be just like dad, and he wants to be in charge, and he wants to be the salesman. And, and he's got an upper hand on some of the other kids that are just playing video games and messing around. I mean, by the time he's in high school, 100% he'll be, a serial entrepreneur already at that age. I'm sure.
He will have no fear of public speaking. I mean, because you think about that, like going into school. I never had that. Like from 3rd grade on, I mean, anytime, or actually 1st grade when you could start doing show and tell and whatnot. I love that. I loved being, up in front of people and whatnot. But I think I learned it because of my dad, because I was interacting with customers that would come into the service station. I'd be like, 9 years old going, hey, can I get you a pack of smokes with that tank of gas? Would you like a soda pop or something? And you're doing that. And I think you lose that fear of being, out in front of people. And I think Levi, he's going to have like you said, he's going to have a leg up, I think, on any of the other kids, because he's gone through that.
Yeah, well, it's got Bunkles. If you haven't seen the Bunkle shirts, they got you and Scott were nice enough to make the Bunkle shirts and business uncles. But he's always like, Bunkle Eric. Like just a few seconds ago before the show started, he's like, Bunkle Eric. But it's cool, like, there's just a family atmosphere and everything. And we've actually started buying a significant amount of Christmas light materials for our business from Holidynamics, and we have some exciting new products coming in. So July cannot get here fast enough. We can show them. We've had a lot of people express interest and ask about it. So it's setting deadlines for yourself. I need to have this done by this date, and I need to have that done by that date. But in the business we're in, it's a deadline. It needs to be now or never. And Christmas is this time, and everything needs to be done by that time. You need to be set up by that time. The materials need to be here no later than this time. And it's a very stressful business, but partnering and networking and being in business together with people who are really family oriented, you don't lose that professional family healthy balance, stuff like that. It's like, hey, it's not all about work, even though I'm at work on Saturday. It's not all about work, it's about family. Because usually when I call, hey Eric, where are you at? It's 2:00. Oh, I'm at the at the dance thing. Or, hey Eric, where are you at? Oh, well, I'm off at I'm like, damn, are you ever at work? So he's like, yeah, of course, I work all the time.
But like I said, it's just, we figure it out, right? We figured out how to do that. You may have to come in later. You may have to work
Flexibility.
at night. You got to, just take care of business. And I think that's the biggest thing. It doesn't start at 8 and end at 5. It's one of those things that, to be successful, I think in any business, there's points, you want to make time for your family and whatnot. But there's also points where, you want to be accessible, and you're not just an 8 to 5, as we aren't. Most, anybody that's in the Christmas business knows, whether it be power washing, landscaping, holiday lighting, whatever, that sometimes you've got to be available to your customer. And that
You got to strike when the iron's hot too.
Yeah. And it sets you apart from your competition, because there's, as much as people are doing it, there's just as many that aren't doing it, that aren't accessible.
What would you say to someone who's been stagnant? I'm not saying that this applies to myself, but in many ways it applies to everyone. You've been stagnant for not just one season, but multiple seasons at this point. I mean, you're accomplishing things and you're getting bigger jobs, and you're putting these other feathers in the caps for whatever reason. But the overall picture, when you're doing your taxes and you're looking at the whole thing, or you're looking at your bank account, or whatever you're measuring success with, you don't feel like you're really growing. It feels like if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. What would you say to someone who's in that situation?
Well, I would look at your business model. What are we trying to accomplish, right? And set those numbers. What is my business? How does it fit into this box? What am I trying to do? Am I trying to be a $500,000 company, $1 million company, or what that is? Whatever that is, you got to figure out what's the plan to get there. And I think what's happening with a lot of people that do get stagnant, what I'm hearing a lot of is, hey, how do I get into permanent lighting? I'm like, why don't you first focus on holiday and perfecting that, and then maybe add on that layer? Or they'll be like, I was thinking about doing landscape lighting now, these are all great options or great opportunities to kind of do that. I wouldn't even call it a side hustle, but another cog in the wheel of what you're offering.
Yeah.
But
a full-time year-round business, landscape lighting.
Yeah, but you're looking at it and you're like, are you being intentional first about the product, or the business that you have, your primary business? Have you exhausted your efforts into that? Or, sometimes you lose a little fire in the belly and you got to figure out, how do I get that back? Because
every year, really, for
none
me.
of this, Ron, as you know, Dylan and I and Scott were just going through this the other day, and with Jody, was to look at, here's all the clients that we have, but it's not guaranteed year over year. Nothing is, whether that be on the wholesale side. Maybe people bought too much product the year before, right? So you got to figure out, how am I going to make up for that? But what I do like about your model, Ron, is similar to ours, is that you really never stop. You'll take a vacation and take your family somewhere, because you also have to enjoy that time. But at the same time, that Christmas or holiday lighting, the Christmas lighting business and decor, that's year round. Even if you're primarily offering that from August to December, usually about the first week in December, you're working on that from January, February, March, April, May, June, July.
Yeah, 100%.
And what we talked about the other day, you may not be getting paid right now, right? The revenue may be not kicking in, but you're putting together the steps to be successful. You're putting that out there to say, if I do this and this and this, I'm going to have a more successful year than I've ever had before. And so what you and Laura are doing right now is being super intentional around that. And you are seeing that, oh my God, we got our website almost done. We're just waiting on some of the samples. We know what the checkpoints are. You're almost kind of creating a project plan. What a lot of people get into, though, when they're in that same situation that you are right now, they're looking at it in May going, oh my God, dude, I got 5 months before I start decorating. I'm going to go relax. You can't. Start calling your customers, start getting those renewals. A lot of people maybe that are listening either today or in the future are going to listen and say, I don't really even do any of my renewals till July, August. And I tend to ask, why don't you do it earlier? And they're like, well, I went to training and that's when they said would be the best time. No, I think you always have to look for reasons to engage. There was one a training seminar we were doing with Ryan Lee the other day, and it was about that. It was, how do we stay in front of that customer? How do we dominate that holiday lighting business? You go by being intentional, and you look for ways, you look for reasons to interact, right? Hey, Mrs. Johnson, I just wanted to call and let you know that I was going through your product the other day. This is if you're on the purchase side, not the lease.
Sure.
But I was going through your product the other day, and I saw that some of your product is aging, and we should look to upgrade that. that's again a reason to stay in front of her. Or, hey, Miss Johnson, I wanted to let you know we've got a new product out. It's called the Glitzer. I think that would look amazing on your home. Can I stop out and talk to you about it?
Can we
Whatever
put you on a
those
payment plan? Can we budget for it?
Yeah. And to have that engagement early, like what you're doing with your marketing, your ordering, all those things are happening now because you're setting yourself up for success, because that's when all the magic has to happen. August to first week in December, that's when you make your hay, but it's behind the scenes, right? It's like when people see these concerts, they show up at 7:00, they have an opening act, maybe 2 or 3 opening acts, and then the greater group comes on and people are like, oh my God, that was amazing. They don't see all that behind the scenes stuff, all the ticketing, all the merch, all that other stuff that goes into it. And that's what you're doing right now. And I think that if you want to be successful, what I would tell anybody that's listening to these podcasts is start to look at that. I've got to put more. The more I put into my business, the more I'll get out. But it doesn't always mean that I need to look for a different avenue or a different source of income. Because now I was doing Christmas lighting. Now I'm going to do landscape lighting. And then I went to a seminar and I'm going to do power washing. And then I'm going to pick this up or do wedding event lighting. And you're like, whoa, dude, are you doing anything well? Not really. I don't even know what the hell we're doing.
I just can't make it a week without a paycheck, bro. And it's like,
right. But that's why you have to budget and balance, so that when you do bring in that nut over the course of those 4 months, that you save some of that, because it's got to carry you through. So you almost have to look at it, that's my payday. But instead of paying myself every couple of weeks or getting paid every day, like when the orders come in, I got to make that last. And that's where I think a lot of people trip up. But if anybody listening needs help with that, Ron and I are always here to talk about that, because I do think that is a huge opportunity within the business today of looking at, how do we become more efficient, or how do we become more intentional so that we can put more profit, add more to the bottom line. And that's how you do it. I don't think you can be just a jack of all trades. You have to be the master Christmas lighting, then move on. If there is an opportunity, maybe it's not. Don't get caught up on the trends just because somebody's like, oh yeah, you need to get into this because I made a ton of money. You could live in a different market, a different region, a different neighborhood. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But I will say this, if it's something that you're doing and you can find passion in it, then by all means jump in and see what you can do, because again, sky's the limit there. I'd say don't have boundaries, kind of build it up as big as you can and have fun with it.
Like when you're talking about like starting other businesses, it's like, I don't care how long you've been doing it, and I don't care how successful you are, how badass you are. When the season starts, you ask yourself this question: am I completely prepared? Anything that possibly any domino that I could have had preloaded, is everything done and there's nothing else to do? The answer is always hell no. There's no way. No matter how much you prepare, you're never done, and you're never satisfied with the preparation that you've done. You're always behind. You're always rushing because it's bigger than you thought. And then when you're going through it, it's just at some point of the season, it's like, damn, man, if I would have just did this, that would have changed everything, but it's too late. You're like, we find ourselves doing it in October. You're like, well, next season I'll do it this way and shit like that.
You've already written
it's only October. But you're like, it's too late to implement because I've already sent all these commercial estimates out with the wrong verbiage in June. And I've already contacted someone with a 3-year agreement in February. And I've already said that these are the products and corresponded. Hey, here's all the new products. You're like, shit, I forgot to add the Glitzer and all of these things. So when you send all those estimates out, you need to put your hands together and kind of pray, like, is this the message I want to say? Is this the warranty information that I want to have on there? Is this the payment terms that I want to say? Is this the price? Are you sure? Because once you agree to it, it's too late to say, I'm sorry, I didn't charge you enough, and I can't even take a customer. I'm so busy. I need to charge you more money. I mean, it's too late for all that. So you really need to think about what the hell you're doing and consult someone. You see it right here. I got my Clippa shirt, and last year at ClippaCon, I know we were there, and the Sahara contacted us today. And they said, come on back for 3 free days. They got food, and they got some money to gamble with to get started for the first 2 seconds. And, for the first hand, at least the first hand's on me, sort of say $45, whatever. But I did get that today, and it reminded me of that. And I know that you have a lot of places that you're traveling. You travel about 15 places a year. And I know you're going to San Diego. soon?
Yeah, San Diego for Clipicon. So Matt and Brooke and the team, I mean the Clipic girls, all the friends that we have out there.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. We'll see a lot of friends, a lot of people that we've met through the industry, and be able to show some new product and share some information and learnings and whatnot. But it's always a good opportunity to go and learn something. And that's what, as you were mentioning, like when you're going through this, if you start right now, because there are always things like we think like tomorrow, I feel like tomorrow's Christmas already, right? You're like, oh my God,
Sure.
I got to get in the office tonight because I got to get this thing done because Christmas is like right around the corner. And then you look and you're like, whoa, it's only April. But that means that you are taking that seriously to get those things done, because the harder you work now, or the more things that you do now, are going to make it so much more easier during the season. And you don't really realize it till you're in there and you're like, just like you said, Ron, man, I've already locked down these bids or these estimates. And you start to think, you're like, wait, was that 23 or was that this year that I did that?
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm looking at January through April, how much we've actually accomplished, even, the different podcasts that we've been doing and whatnot. And I look back and I'm like, was that last year? Oh, shoot, that was like February. That wasn't.
Yeah. I know someone asked me, hey, how long have you and Laura been married? Yesterday, because like we're like finishing each other's sentences and lows, whatever the information was. And I was like, damn, that's a good question. I should know these things. 5 years.
Yeah. Well, you're probably like, oh, it feels like my whole entire life.
I know. It's like I feel like we were born to be together. Yeah. It's been forever. It's been the greatest thing. But 5 years, we've awesome. Accomplished a lot in 5 years, brother.
My wife and I have been together for about 22 now.
About
and
22?
This is a year that I do need to take her somebody. She actually turned 50 this year, so we got to do something for her birthday.
No Hawaii 5-0.
No, I can't take that on your page.
I apologize for throwing that out there.
No, that was great.
That'd be copying, yeah, of course.
You got to take her somewhere. It's Cody's 21st, and then it's also Ava's 16th this year. So we've got to do something as a family and do some fun. So we're looking forward to all that and seeing. But you're trying to fit it all in, because then my daughter's got dance competitions and we've got other obligations. We're like, where do you fit all this in, while at the same time trying to build your stuff up for the season? So it becomes a little bit difficult. That's why I say if you can master something like Christmas lighting first and then start to apply other things on top of it, I think people will be more successful.
Like Christmas light installer mastermind Facebook group. Get connected with the best and brightest minds.
That might be one of the best groups out there right now.
Yeah, it's we definitely pour into it, man. I mean, if you're ever looking for a picture of this and that, and I know there was some shows coming up this week. Yesterday we had a record break, and it was 570 people total watching our live feed. It was about police shootings and stuff, but something not Christmas, but Christmas. Jason Guyman, we will be on a show with Jason Guyman next week, and he'll be on the show with us. So if you don't know who that guy is, out of all the people I've met in the Christmas business, he makes it look like I don't do as much work on podcasts, because the guy's on freaking every night.
All the time.
Hardest working guy as far as podcasts and stuff like that. 100%. Hardest working guy, Jason Guyman. I would say his knowledge of Christmas lights is equivalent to mine. I definitely wouldn't say it's more. But
nice.
But
he's all right.
But the way he delivers it and the way that he, dedicates his life. Like you said, if you're passionate about something, very seldom you see someone passionate about someone and not be successful. Jason Guyman is definitely passionate about helping people, and you can tell he's very successful at it because of that passion. But that's all I got right there. I seen that someone said range-minded podcast. He was on the podcast last night. We had politicians, we had police officers, and all kinds of stuff. So you can imagine how much fun we had, and the military veterans, like range-minded. So definitely surrounded by some good people. But Mr. Terkelsen, I do appreciate you. I'm sorry to hear about the devastation in Omaha and outside of Omaha, Nebraska. I know that there's going to be an outreach and people trying to help out with the devastation. And I'm sure the stories of, what happened and how the community affected is it's just beginning. You're going to hear a lot more about that. But I know that Holidynamics is there to lend a helping hand wherever, you can. Wherever you're needed, I'm sure you'll be there. And it's just like what I was telling you earlier today, biblical. I don't think that David was there, was sent to slay Goliath. I think Goliath was sent to reveal that there was a person like a David. And sometimes these tragedies, it reveals the people who actually have a heart for helping others, like Holidynamics. So it'll be interesting to see, but it's very sad to see the tragic loss with the tornadoes and everything. But I wanted to get you on live. Didn't tell anyone about this one. I'm sure they'll see it later, but I do appreciate you coming on. Do you have any final words, Erik?
Yeah, I appreciate you too. Always, you and Laura, always, putting together. You've done a beautiful job with the podcast. I think it's just taking it to the next level. And I think for us here in Omaha, in Nebraska and Iowa, for those that do, have a business that are listening that are in either of those states, our hearts go out to each and every one of you. But that, there's a lot of tragedy also going along, throughout the United States. And, it's anytime that people can come together and understand that there's people that are there to help. That's what we're here to do as well. So whether that be, helping through a donation or helping through, water or whatever we can offer, we're always here to do that. But also on the business side, and I know, Ron, you and I have talked about that, and people like, Joey and Jason and Matt, the rest of the group, there's people out there that do want to help and want to see people succeed. You talked about Jason being on and doing all those podcasts that he's doing. In the short time that I had met him during your event this last year, just a really good guy, really, good wealth of knowledge, but willing to share, right? And looking to help people. And I think for the most part within the Christmas holiday lighting and decor industry, there's a lot of people out there like that. But I will tell you, if you're looking for help, you need something, you're not up to speed on a certain, whether it be on an installation or a product, Ron, myself, I know a majority of people out there are willing to help you. So don't hesitate to reach out. And for all my friends that are listening that were affected by the storm, hearts, everything goes out to you guys in prayers and whatever you need, here for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you. Erik Terkelsen from Holidynamics, everybody, from Omaha, Nebraska, in the eye of the storm. The soldiers are revealed. I appreciate you. And everyone, have yourself a great weekend that's around the country. And next week, I'm sure will be full of other beautiful things we can look forward to. But bye for now.